One of the main reasons that people are now looking at my books and what I'm saying in a vastly greater number than ever before is because so many of the things that I've written about over the years are now happening. I said in 1990, we can expect the power and frequency of hurricanes to increase after the millennium. A psychic message said there would be a severe hurricane around the Gulf of Mexico and New Orleans.
The bloodline hierarchy at the top of the human pyramid of control and suppression passes the baton across the generations, mostly sons following fathers.
I, George Herbert Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully...
The plan is to engineer events, real and staged, that will create enormous fear in the countdown years to 2012. This includes a plan to start a third world war, either by stimulating the Muslim world into a holy war against the West, or by using China to cause global conflict, maybe both.
The years after the millennium will see gathering conflict all over the world, to the point where the United Nations will be overwhelmed.
January the 20th, 2001. Don't be surprised if the United States finds itself in another manipulated war during this administration. You will see monsters being created in the public mind to justify such action.
Between 2000 and 2002, the United States will suffer a major attack on a large city.
We're going to be seeing some tape.
People have perceived me as claiming to be some kind of prophet. Now, it depends how you perceive the word prophet. If you perceive it as someone sitting in a darkened room and getting it from the ether, then I'm not that kind of prophet, really. It's very clear that there are two stories running side by side in what we call daily life. There's what I call the movie. This is the version of events that the mainstream media and all the official authorities, the system, tell us is the nature of what's happening in the world. Alongside the movie is the secret agenda, which the movie hides and obscures. That agenda is for a global state which can be pretty much described in the nightmare of George Orwell's 1984. The Big Brother global state, in which there will be a world government, world central bank, world army imposing the will of the world government, world currency, and a microchip population linked to a global computer.
That's the Department of Ministry?
That's the cenotaph, yeah. If you stand there and read out the names of dead soldiers in Iraq, you get arrested under the Serious Organised Crime and Police Act in this free country.
I've been filming David for 8 years, since we've been together in my own little cameras. I've got hours and hours and hours of footage. But now it's become more professional. Before I felt like I was just following David around and I wasn't really doing anything, although I was, but it wasn't enough. And now I've found my canvas.
I can't sum up better what would change the world and bring this imposition to an end. That song by Donovan in the 60s just went like this. He's 5'2" and he's 6'4". He fights with missiles and with spears. He's all of 31 and he's only 17. He's been a soldier for 1,000 years. He's the one who must decide who's to live and who's to die, and he never sees the writing on the wall. He's the universal soldier, and he really is to blame. His orders come from far away no more. They come from here and there, and you and me, and brothers and sisters, can't you see? This is not the way to put the end to war. I remember coming here on the Great Central Railway when I was a kid from Leicester, and we walked up with my dad and my mother up there and looked across at Downing Street, right? Now you can't get anywhere near the bloody place, ironically, because of terrorist events that have been orchestrated by the very people that control the guy that's being protected, so we can't go up there and see his house. Crazy world. Okay, we're going to go see a extraordinary man who's been in Parliament Square since June the 2nd, 2001, protesting against the slaughter of children. And, you know, the commitment that he's shown is just unbelievable. So we'll go and see him. I brought that book at last, mate. How you doing? There you go. I'll sign it for you.
78 police, 78 police. See how they run, see how they run. They come to us in the dead of night, give us all a terrible fright, deprive us of our human rights. 78 police. When are we going to stop killing our kids, eh? Our kids.
Well, we're going to stop killing our kids when people get off their arses and toss us like the guy who's just come past here and shouted, "When did you last have a job?" or words to that effect. Realise that the police state is not for people like you and people like me. It's for every bugger. I mean, you know, we get.
Unclean! Unclean! Hey! Stop a minute! Unclean! Lepers of the world! USA! UK! Unclean!
Why are you asking me if I have permission to film in a public place that my taxation pays for?
David, it's all right.
No, hold on a second. Do you know something? There was a time when I thought I lived in a free country. Your children are going to have to live in the state you are policing into existence. And when it's too late, you'll go, oh my God, what were you doing, Daddy and Mummy, when the police state came into power? I was enforcing it, darling.
Ask you to calm down, please. We've come over here. We're doing our job.
Please, don't tell me what to do.
You're not here to film us, are you? You're here to do whatever you're filming.
Yeah, that one. If it's covered with CCTV cameras, what's the problem? Everyone's being watched, aren't they? I don't get. I'm
not going to speak to you.
No,
I'm not going to
speak
to you because obviously you've got a bee in your bonnet about it, so I'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to get into it.
It's a simple question.
With you about
no, it's not an argument. It's a simple question. If CCTV cameras are everywhere, filming everyone here, what's the point of you coming down and saying what you're doing? You can see us, can't you? There's no answer in it.
Really coming here. David,
I've said what I was.
Got no answer in it.
Maybe it's me, but that presses my button. It really does. Because, you know, this is supposed to be a free country, supposedly, and you come, you get a camera out in an open public space, which our taxation has paid for, and they come up and start, what are you doing, what are you doing? If that was in Nazi Germany or China, it would be on the news, and the people in there will be going, see, that's confirmation, police state, human rights, no human rights in China, and all these other places. No human rights in Nazi Germany, and then they do the same, but because it's on the cover of freedom and democracy, it's all different. It's exactly the bloody same. It's not even a creeping Orwellian state now. It is a galloping one, and really it's in the small things that you find how deeply into our daily, even in detail, into our daily lives this stuff has gone. Got to ask permission for this, got to ask permission for that, mustn't do that, all the time. I won't have it. Honestly, if people only just deep breath, take a step back, look at it again. The Orwellian state ain't coming, it's here. It's just a question of how deeply we go into it.
I can't speak too loudly, because this is a very a species that doesn't like people making too much noise. This is known as the Nessus-spotted repeater. This is a very common sight where truth is being annihilated.
You ever heard that phrase, everyone knows that, mate? Well, why does everyone know that? Well, it's because this system is controlled
by what I call repeaters. They're people in the situations of power and influence who just repeat what someone else tells them. A doctor is repeating what they were told at medical school and what the drug companies tell them. You've got teachers who repeat what they learned in their exams and what they learned at teacher training college, and they repeat that to the next generation. And the great repeaters are what pass for journalists. This is that area outside Parliament where they stand there doing their pieces to camera, telling people what's going on. Here we have the crews waiting for the journalists to come across from Westminster and stand there and tell them what's happening in the world. The fact is, they don't know what's happening. They know nothing. So this is what they should be saying if they were telling the truth. Now over to Westminster for the latest news from David Icke. Thank you. Well, I've got to be honest, mate, I haven't got a clue what's going on. I tell you what my job is, right? I wear a dark suit, not normally, but, you know, I'm playing here. And I'm come over from there, and I tell you what they've told me is going on. And I deliver it as if I know what's going on, and it's really true. I haven't got a clue if it's true. But they tell me, and they wouldn't lie, would they? I mean, would Tony Blair lie about what's really happening? Would George Bush, please? I'm a journalist, trust me. And so, what we call news, what you get paid a lot of money for reading autocue about, is merely propaganda that they have told me and I tell you. David Icke, BBC, ITN, CNN, CBS, Sky News, Westminster.
When I started researching the nature of this Orwellian manipulation, it became clear that there are a network of interbreeding bloodlines. What I call and what they call themselves, the Illuminati, which comes from the illuminated ones, have come through history. And as people began to reject overt, in-your-face dictatorship, they became the people who ran the system. You can look at the Bush family, and they are absolutely Illuminati. As presidents of the United States go, Father George Bush, I mean not the idiot's son, but Father George Bush, is higher in the Illuminati than most of them. The British royal family are one of the Illuminati bloodlines. It's all about genetics to these people. They're like horse breeders. Diana basically called herself the Windsor's brood mare. She was brought into the web merely to be the vehicle to give birth to William. You look at Charles and you look at William, and there's very much a resemblance. But when you look at Harry, you'll look at the Bushes and people like that, and they look like you and me. The key element is what happens beyond the realm that we can see. This is what the Illuminati bloodlines really are. They are vehicles for other dimensional entities to manipulate this reality. These entities, many of which take a reptilian outer form, are manipulating this world through these Illuminati bloodlines. When I introduce something like these Illuminati bloodlines are based on a reptilian, non-human race, people find it fantastic. Of course it is, because it is so different from the reality and ways of the world that they have grown up believing in. The mainstream media, they want to report, because it's funny, that I am saying these bloodlines are reptilian. But when I'm talking about this stuff, when I